Welcome to Q&A Selling Online, with answers to questions about creating an online empire, promoting products, or building a brand. Your host, private label and e-commerce entrepreneur, Quinn Amorm.
Welcome back to the show, my friends. Today we have a guest who went to college for mechanical engineering and he dropped out senior year. Then he moved to Utah and he got a gig where he was selling and developing tablet and iPad enclosures. And then the company sold and he started his own called Klugonyx, and out of his one-bedroom apartment. And this was at the time a full service development firm. Now he has a team of designers, engineers, management here in the USA, and then an office in China with PMs, QC managers, and even customer support. Now he's not only developing and helping his customers, but he's also developing brands for himself. We have with us today Jason Klug. How's it going, Jason?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Jason. So tell me, before you started Klugonyx, you were developing tablet enclosures. Are those like tablet cases, almost like phone cases?
No, and that's the funny thing too, right? It was like, that's what you would think, right? Just like phone cases, but it was actually much more unique. Where this guy Scott Paul, when the iPad came out, he was like, why can't this be used as an interactive interface in various business environments? And he started making metal boxes for iPads that bolt onto like walls and stands. And, you probably see them today where you can walk up and you can enter your email into it, or they use them at like coffee shops as point of sale systems. So I was developing a variety of tablet enclosures, not just for iPads, but for Samsung tablets and, all kinds of off-brand Chinese tablets, whatever, So that was a great start to getting my, hands dirty and developing products. So, yeah.
Okay, I think I know what it is, because Toronto Airport, every table has like a couple of those. Like some tables have 10 of those. And there's a tablet there you can access. You can order food from the nearest restaurant, and they'll deliver it to your iPad or to your chair.
That's a great example, right? And that was the vision Scott had, many years ago when the iPad first came out, and now it's crazy, like whenever I'm out and about. And that was, I left that company like 7 or so years ago. So it's cool to like go out in the wild and see not only products that I designed many years ago, through that, but then other companies also making and implementing tablets in business and, consumer environments. It's pretty sweet. So it was a great start to expose what is possible in the ability of making products. That was the first one. So.
Yeah, man, that must be such an amazing feeling. I experienced something, I'm guessing it's similar, and my thing is the private label. So the first time I walked into somebody's house and I saw my product there, because it was private label, I know I'm the only one selling it. When I saw my product on somebody's shelf, the feeling is like something I can't explain, but it was like, I didn't tell them it was mine, but it was like, this is so amazing. I made that, right? Although I love it. I didn't create it, but you actually create things. So the feeling must be even stronger.
I love it. Exactly that feeling. I mean, there's been times where, I still see, there's just an iPad, like a stand that's like a table stand for an iPad enclosure that I made. It was one of the last things I finished before I left the company. And I still see them out and about today, and I look at it, and it's like, it's a rewarding feeling to see it. And I've actually seen it where I remember we would sell to companies like movie, producers, or like even in one of the Avengers movies, for example, they used one of our enclosures as like in one of like the, bases at the Avengers thing. There's like tablets mounted and they're interacting with it like Iron Man and stuff. And I saw one of my designs. It's like, whoa, I remember, making that. And I remember the sales guy who did the sale on being like, hey, I got this going to Marvel Studios. And I'm like, no way. And so, I love it. Great feeling, right?
No, that would be the cherry on the cake, seeing your product on the movie. That is insane. So what you're doing right now, you're actually developing products. You're creating them. You're not just private labeling products, right?
Right. Yes. So with the skills that I developed doing the tablets, the engineering, working with designers and, manufacturers and all that stuff, and my background being more on the mechanical engineering side, I just got the experience to piece it all together. And, making tablet enclosures was cool, fantastic experience. The company and all that was literally dream come true with, what I needed to teach myself what I'm capable of. But, leaving that, I wanted to make all kinds of products, consumer products, even some more B2B products. So yeah, I left and I started just, doing it out of my apartment by myself. And over time, I've built a team of, trying to basically put people in place that are better than me at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have engineers now that are better than me at engineering. I have designers that have a brain, and the way they think through the development of a project is just something way outside of what I'm capable of in creativity and user experience and aesthetics and all that. And then I have management. I got Alyssa running project management. She's way more organized than me and making sure timelines are hit, all that stuff. And so we're just growing, right? So now it's like we just get to make all kinds of stuff. Whatever comes our way, we like to help customers create that vision. So get it to market.
So let me just go back one little bit. When you were in that tablet enclosure business, you were developing, but you were also selling them. So were you involved in like the marketing side? Was it direct to consumer or?
No, that was like all B2B sales. But when I first got to that company, I was a salesman. So that was like literally the first month or so I was doing sales. But because I was in engineering, and I remember in the first interview, I was interviewing with Scott, the CEO, and I was like, well, actually, I really am like, engineering minded. I can sell, but like I want to make stuff at the end of the day, so I'd love to, eventually have something, work with you guys on making stuff. And they didn't have engineering at the time. But what would happen is I get these sales calls, and I remember one time like the head of product for IBM calls, and I'm like, well, we don't have that tablet, but I think we can make it. We can make that enclosure. I think I can make it. So I started going home and just 3D modeling stuff on my own, and then I'd go into the office the next day and go, Scott, hey, IBM called yesterday and they said they needed this, and I think I made this. I'd love to present it to them to see if we could do this, and then and then I became the head of their product development. So then that's when we start. I got to work with. I started to get a little team going where I got to work with Ken, who was more on like management and helping me like be my right hand man and making sure everything actually was implemented. And we got project managers. I used designers and stuff here and there. So I eventually was just full bore engineering and development, but at the same time, I was working with salesmen on custom projects where a customer would come to us and be like, hey, we need a tablet made for this scenario. And it's like, okay, so then I got to do like the discovery process. And, it started shaping like a consistent process of, okay, here's the customer. This is what their problem is. We need to solve. This is what we can use to achieve that. Let's create a custom enclosure or create a custom mount or whatever, right? So yeah, by the end of it, I, was just full board creating and just collaborating with sales.
So one of the things I want to know is when you're creating a product that basically doesn't exist yet, you don't know if it has demand. I mean, there's maybe a couple of things you can do to see, but you're never 100% sure. So what do you do if one of these brand new products fails? Do you just lose that research, and what happens?
I mean, yeah, that happens, right? But there's definitely a lot you could do up front. There's surveys, there's talking to potential customers, there's talking to people that have, capabilities of distributing, like you, for example, on Amazon. I'm sure you could use the tools and see demand on various products with sell through, like Amazon. Like I use one called Unicorn Smasher, right, to see Amazon data. Like sometimes you could look around and see what kind of demand there is there, and just the creative process. Like our creative director, Aaron, for example, really does a good job taking clients through a creative process, because a client might come to us with an idea, not, knowing, they might have something in mind, but they maybe haven't fully wrapped their brain around it. And Aaron's able to then take that and pick their brain and get an idea and understand what they're looking for. But then also, he'll step aside and go into, some in-depth, digging on looking at the marketplace, looking at, other products that are out there, looking at other inspiration with design and functionality. And, he's been able to shape this piece of clay and present it back to the client saying, well, I think this might actually work better because you're going to appeal to this customer better and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the risk can be mitigated by going through a proper design process. But still, it does happen where you bring a product to market and it doesn't do well. Like, for example, a recent failure I had, which I don't even think is a failure yet. It was a failure up front, but we worked with a brand called Adamus Fans, and they have an incredible product already. It's a commercial product that is this, big misting fan. And instead of it just being a nozzle that sprays mist in front of the fan and blows the mist, it has this disc that spins at, 7,500 RPM in a little trough of water. And that disc spinning that fast picks up the water, breaks it down into small, fine mist particles, like a, 4 to 10 micron mist, and then blows it out. So by the time it's like a foot in front of the fan, it's like cold air versus moisture and wet air. So, I walked by a trade show, I walked by their booth, and I got blown by a cold breeze, and I'm like, what is it, an AC blowing on me? And I look over and it's a misting fan. I'm like, there's no way that's a misting fan. So I got to know Felipe and Jay, and so we made a consumer version of it. So we shrunk it down to a smaller package, made it so you could put it on a table in your house or put it on your back patio. And we're like, okay, you get it to market with a Kickstarter. And, Kickstarter these days are expensive. You have to run ads. You have to really do some pre-work to acquire customers. You have to run ads throughout. And so we were confident. We thought it was a cool product. But as we're running these ads, we realized the demographic that's into this product is 50 plus, and they're very affluent and got money to spend. And with that, it's like no one on Kickstarter is 50 plus with money to spend. They're all millennials. So the millennials were falling off, but we realized how many people were going to the Kickstarter that were 50 plus, interested in the product, but then falling off because the fact that it's a Kickstarter and they don't get the product right away. But now we know, and Jay and Felipe are confident now. Okay, we're still going to go to market. We're just going to, have to fund the tooling and stuff out of pocket or, find an investor. But we know this thing's going to sell. We just have to sell directly to the right, demographic and make sure that it ships in a couple days and they're more likely to convert. So yes, it was a failure. The campaign was a failure, but we walked away from that campaign with a lot of this data, this knowledge, and this confidence that people are interested in the fan. We just have to put it in front of the right audience.
Okay, so it was kind of a failure, but it's not over yet. So it's not really a failure until you're over. Yeah, right. As you were explaining it, I was thinking like, man, I want one of those.
Right?
Yeah. So
we're just talking about how hot it is up there at the farm in Saskatchewan. And it's like, if you're sitting on this patio, back patio, and you have this thing nearby, you would be you'd be great. And it's surprisingly it works in humid environments and it works in dry environments, because they're down in Texas. So in Texas it's super humid. And they've been selling these other fans for the last like 12 years, and have a lot of happy customers. So but yeah, that's turning in how to take a failure and really make it benefit from it. You just got to look at why you failed and see if it's leading you in another direction.
Yeah, we'll have to do a follow-up on that one, like 6 months from now or a year or something, and see where
it'll probably be about a year. That's a big complex product to get there, but we will get there. We'll figure out how to get them there.
So in your line of business, there has to be I don't know, mistakes, failures, or things that you've learned from, and now that when you have a client, you're going to teach them not to do those same mistakes. So what are some that come to mind?
Oh yeah, definitely made enough mistakes on my own that I pass through to clients. Like a lot of it is like, even just like talking about the research stuff. Like I used to not do as, the research, my fiance Kelsey's background is all in the research, and she's showed me how valuable and important it is. Aaron, our creative director, I just I make sure that there's enough time and budget for him to do some in-depth research. I used to make the mistake all the time of just being like, I bet people will want this. I want this. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's like, does my opinion, like if I was buying 1,000,000 units, my opinion would matter. But I am not buying 1,000,000 units. So it's like, that is, it's crucial. There's so many times where I've just like, just made assumptions and also like a lot comes into the financial strategy, with making a product. It costs a lot of money, getting patent work done, getting tooling, and you know this, I'm sure, with getting a first run for even a product to sell on Amazon. It's like you got to be prepared to pay for that production run, the freight fees, if they're importing it, the customs duties. You just got to make sure you're ready for that type of expense. But when you do get that product in a warehouse ready to ship, and you have the skills and the ability to start moving it, or you have someone that you can rely on to help you move it. Just like we talked about earlier with seeing product in the market, nothing's better than being like having a Shopify store and then getting pinged with that cash register sound every time someone buys your product,
That is the most beautiful sound. And to a certain point, because after a while, then if you always have the notifications on, it gets kind of boring. But
you just got to mute it. Once you mute it, I feel like that's success. When you have to mute it, it's like, you're doing all right.
That's exactly what I thought. Because when it first comes in, that cha-ching sound is like, yes. And every time we go run to the phone and see the notification, what sold, how much, and then we go see to what city. And then after a while, when I thought like, I'm going to turn this off, then that's when you realize, man, I'm turning off the cha-ching sound.
Yeah. So. And then you like get to the point where you check it maybe 3 times a day or whatever, and you just see like, okay, how am I progressing today? And but like that's how it is with so with all these resources of developing products, we've also started making we've made a few brands of our own, because if we have the design capabilities, I've got the manufacturing, my partner Nate, and we have an office in China where we're able to not only just do the design and the engineering and the prototyping here in the States. We then go through a transition period where we onboard our team in China, and we are able to visit, vet, find manufacturers, go through sampling and validation, tooling, and then go through production and quality control and all that stuff. So we're really able to help products get all the way, and then continuously do production runs and continuously get better. But because of that, it's like, why not build our own brands, and start being able to sell our own products and figure out the Shopify and the direct-to-consumer brand model and stuff like that. So we have built, a company called Dorai Home, which uses a material called diatomaceous earth to rapidly dry moisture, and we make products like bath mats out of it. We make dish drying pads and dish racks and coasters and a variety of products. And then we also made a recent product, is called the foot hook, which is a little hook you put on your door at the bottom. So when you're walking through the door, you can hook your foot under it and open the door without your hands, so you don't touch the COVID infested handle.
Nice.
But yeah, and that's like something we get to hold close to ourselves. As a matter of fact, my entire team invested to get this product going. They all invested their own money. We're all partners in it. And, we get to share that excitement of that cash register and see why making product is not just satisfying to go through the process, but like, if you can make money on the product you're making, it's like awesome,
Yeah. So listen, when you create something like that, do you patent it immediately? Do you wait to see if it has any success?
Well, in order to get a patent like US, you do have to patent it before you publicly announce it.
Mhm.
But we'll go through a good bit of the design process, so we're like confident, like, okay, this is the product, this is how it's going to work, and then we'll go and get a patent filed, so we can say patent pending. If it's a client, I usually introduce them to a patent attorney and say, okay, you have these design assets from us. Now it's time to start working with a patent attorney. If you don't have one of your own, here's the guy I work with, and I'll just introduce them and let them go through that process together. For this product, it's hard to get a utility patent on, so we have a design patent on it and trademark on the branding and all that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely good to get protection however you can, and get that implemented before it's obviously public. Because if you make it public and then file a patent after the fact, then the USPTO will likely reject it because it's just the wrong order.
Okay, got it. So we're in 2020 right now, and there's so many things that happen, good for some people, bad for the most. And I mean, everybody's learning lessons now in 2020.
Yeah.
What's the biggest that you had to learn this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a majority of our sales before were trade shows. So we would go physically to a trade show, Hunter and I, my sales rep, and we would go to these trade shows and walk the floor and meet product companies and, connect with them, and then, follow up and then build a relationship and then get business, right? That's how we would get a majority of our sales. It's a very manual process, but we enjoyed, building relationships in person and and then we would go to trade shows year after year, and we have a lot of friends in industries that we love and clients that we love to spend time with and go see. So that, that was, we relied on that a lot, and then with COVID, obviously there's no trade shows. The interpersonal connection is all like this, right? Video calls, which you can still do a good bit with, but it does not help developing inbound leads. But right after COVID started going, I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? So, I've been trying to do more podcasts like this. I've been trying to do as much. I hired Martina, who does all of our marketing. She's been helping go through getting articles posted and writing about the process of developing products and, more marketing content like that. And then we're also creating, I was actually filming yesterday. We had a full day of filming. We created a bunch of ads. So we got a bunch of ads that we're going to launch in the next couple months and start running paid advertising to bring more founders in our way, so we can help them add their next product or create new products. And honestly, that has been a massive shift from trade shows. So my hopes are when trade shows start coming back up, that we'll have the ad side of things figured out. And with your experience in like Shopify and e-commerce, like once you figure out how to get a positive return on ad spend, and you figure out, your demographics, your audiences, and your lookalike campaigns and all that stuff, you can make incredibly profitable, ad spend and decisions and data-driven decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And if we have that combined with trade shows, it's going to be, that's how I think we're going to grow to the next level. And COVID is what pushed us to do that, because it's a big leap to go and spend the money on the ads and creating them, and spend the money on the ad spend up front. And usually you don't make money right away. You have to stick it out and collect some data and then refine until you're profitable. But yeah, COVID forced us to do that, and I'm somewhat thankful that it has.
Yeah, you know what? I experienced kind of the opposite in one of the businesses, because not only I create the private labels and sell them, I also have the agency side where we manage e-commerce companies or companies that want to sell online. We only do the online side of things. And on that part, on the agency, we actually turned off ads because so many people learned the lesson that you have to be more, or not just depending of the physical side, the retail side, right? And they have to be online. So a lot of people approached us since then. And man, it's been big growth, and at the same time hiring. And like you talked about hiring, and I want to know, how do you do your hiring? Because you are hiring specialty people. You're not just hiring right? You got to hire a designer, an engineers,
Right.
marketers. In from my personal experience, designers, the best, are always, I don't know what's the right term. A good designer is weird in the personality.
Yeah.
So how do you pick them?
Well, yeah, it's a good. I mean, we've hired lately. We've hired marketing. Martina is joined us to help with actually having someone in house working on, you know, driving leads and analytics of our site, all that stuff. And then we hired a new engineer recently named Luke. But the tools that I've been using to drive applications is I use, and we're hiring a project manager right now. There's another thing we need to bring on board. But we use LinkedIn, and I actually, we build out a nice job posting, and we post it, and we spend, we pay for the, fee, which it's like, depending on clicks and stuff, you pay X amount, and you set a daily limit. And like, for example, the engineering role, we got over like 100 something applicants in like a week and a half. And
Wow.
like the project manager role, we've got 70 applicants right now. And it's like, and with marketing, we had like what, 60 something applicants. And like, it's a valuable tool where you could then go through, you could see all these applicants, and like, with the marketing role, for example, we had like 5 or 6 that stood out that we moved into interviewing. And like, we have to do video calls and stuff. And, because culture for our team is very important. We're like a family, right? Like we're all close, and we've, really been involved in, early stages of this company until where it's at, the core team. And it's like, you can get so much of that with video, but, just multiple video calls, interviews, and then, making sure that the vibe is right, making sure that we're going to provide them the job that they need, want, and they're looking for, and we're a good fit for them. And yeah, I'm just kind of going from there. And it's tough, but like tools like LinkedIn, with that application process has made it very easy, and I think has made a big change in the industry of recruiting. So I think that's been helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I use it too. LinkedIn is great.
Yeah.
So getting into Klugonyx a little bit more in depth, if somebody wants to develop a product, that means they can contact Klugonyx and get the whole process done, or is there some homework that they need to do before approaching you? And what exactly are you going to do? You're going to get their idea into paper, and then from paper to 3D, or how does this go?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, sometimes we have companies come with a more refined product idea, and we're just carrying it the rest of the way. But also, I mean, we have people come with like a napkin sketch, or, just a high level description of what they're trying to achieve. And yeah, we take them through a process that starts with industrial design. And that's where we do, like a kickoff meeting. We really pick their brain and ask them a, list of questions to, tease out, features, or, target audience, or, aesthetic, like hints of directions that could go with the aesthetics. Like if your product was a car, what type of car would it be? It's questions like that. Then, get your brain going, get your wheels turning. We start there, right? And that gives, Aaron or Izzy or whatever designers work on the project enough ammo to start putting pen to paper and, start conceptualizing. And we start super broad. And, we'll start broad and rough with, visuals. And then we get back with the client, we present this, and then we say, okay, what direction do you like? What features do you like? What do you, and we'll even throw like photos of other products that might inspire a material finish, a surface, like a texture, all that stuff. And from there, another conversation, another brainstorm, but with visuals where they can go, okay, I like concept A, but I like the feature from concept C. I want to implement that somehow. And then on this other page, I really like, that chair you posted because of this material and how it works with this wood. And then continue to refine. So the designer then takes that information away, plugs in all that data and that information they got from that meeting, refines the product and present it again and refine. And usually, 2, 3 rounds of refinement at the end, we're sitting with a concept in 2D that the client's like, great, let's do it. Let's move forward. So then we've got a 2D, visual representation of what this product is going to look like, and descriptions of its, ideal function and all that stuff. Then it goes from a designer to engineering, and this is where we move it into, like a 3D environment, and we start actually making 3D models, CAD drawings, all that good stuff, and even sometimes making really rough prototypes to test, various functionalities and refine it. Or we have some 3D printers in house, so we're able to quickly like create something, print it, test it, make sure everything moves well, this mechanism's good, the geometry's good. How does it feel in your hand, stuff like that. And then, we by the end of the first engineering phase, which we call the prototype design phase, we usually have like a really refined prototype that is testable. Sometimes even something you could even start making videos and photos of, so you can start, do a Kickstarter or start presenting it to the world to get some feedback or to get some customer input, stuff like that. And also at that point, usually you have a patent filed, so you can say patent pending. And then, this is what really differentiates us. So after you've tested this prototype, you have a lot of input from what worked, what doesn't work, the sizing right, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What did your potential customers say? And then we go through a refinement process. And this is the value of Nate and his team in China, because we run our China office as a separate entity called Onyx 360. So Nate, like it's just so complex to do manufacturing and the onboarding and that whole process. And working with a team of people in China, and we've got a team of 15 there now. So Nate runs that office. Sometimes we'll even pull Nate in after this phase and get his input and start, seeing, okay, what factories do we already work with that could potentially do this? Are we going to have to find a new factory? Is the price point of the item going to hit, that margin that we need to make this a successful product? We start teasing out those questions on the factory side. And from there, we implement all of that feedback. We implement the client's feedback, our team's feedback, Nate and his team's feedback from the factory, and we revise the drawings and get like a buttoned up set of final drawings, right? That file set is, where we then go, okay, Nate, your turn. Nate picks up the project, and then starts working with his team to find a factory, set up, figure out tooling, sampling process, and then we're making the product, one-offs of the product at the factory level. And this is where we get, their engineers in, at the factory who's, like, let's say we're making a baby teeter, right? So here's a baby teeter that we've made. I've got parts of it sitting all over my desk here. And we've been making this for a while. But, we work with a silicone factory that's been making silicone products for years. So their engineer knows silicone, knows how to work with it. And we, work with them to refine the product, make sure that we're achieving price point, make sure that functionality is there, make sure it's going to pass all the teething tests, the material tests, all that stuff. And, get to the part where we have a golden sample. And that golden sample is like, okay, this is it. I'm ready to produce 5,000 of these things exactly how this is. Here's my purchase order. Let's start production, right? Production begins. We produce the however many units on that first production run, and then James and is on our QC team, and we'll actually go into the factory, inspect however many units that need to be inspected based on the quality standards that we set with the client, right? How in depth of quality control do you want? Go and inspect it, develop a report, say, oh, this didn't work, this is wrong, we need to get this fixed. The factory fixes it, comes back, goes through inspection again if that's the case, passes inspection, we're good. Load it up on a container and get it wherever it needs to go. So it's a long process. So when we work with clients, like, we build a good relationship, like we have to, otherwise we're stuck with them for a long time because it takes a while to do it. But we know how important it is to really help people get through that, because you being even white labeling, it's a challenge, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to make sure is right, Otherwise you can have a very expensive mistake to fix.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it's not an overnight process. There's definitely a lot going on, a lot of people involved,
Yeah.
and which I guess that's the key to success, is having a lot of different minds, different eyes looking at things. And here's one of the things that I couldn't get my mind off, is that everybody that approaches you or approaches Klugonyx thinks they have the $1 million idea, because nobody's going to say, Jason, I want to create this product because I think I can make an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
They think it's going to be the next big thing, and sometimes it isn't. How do you break their heart and just tell them, like, this is not?
Yeah. So there has been times where I've told people their baby's ugly, right? You have to be like, hey, like I know this might solve the problem for you, but I want you to make sure that it solves the problem for everybody in that market, right? And that's always like that's where like that those conversations and stuff early on are very important. And don't be afraid to ask people and protect the idea too much. Otherwise, you won't know until you're patent pending, and by the time you're patent pending, you've already spent a ton of money to realize that no one wants it. So you can always tease out demand high level just from having conversations with random people that might be interested. But they might come to us with an idea that's maybe like the concepts there, like it's a good, like it's okay, you're heading in the right direction, but it needs some refinement, and that's where like Aaron and Izzy, their creative process come into play, and they're not afraid to say, hey, like I really think you got something good here, but when we started doing some mock-up prototypes and testing it, I think this is a better way to do it. And it's like it's hard, a lot of times the entrepreneur then is going to go, yeah, okay, that makes sense, okay, yeah, let's proceed that way. So that's where it can be tough to be like, hey, this is not the way to do it, but as long as we come back at it in a way that is like, well, what about this, because it solves this problem by doing this, and that is usually the best way to soften that blow.
And then after a product is finalized, it's completely done. Now, the marketing side of things, that's up to the client, right? The person that owns that product, they are going to do the launches themselves. Do you have any input, or just give them tips, or that's completely on them?
No, I mean, I will usually like introduce them to people I know that help with marketing. Like it's good to know that you're in the Amazon space, so I'm sure I could find people to pass your way, right? Like it's always I always like to have people in other agencies and other freelancers that are good at that side of things to be able to go, okay, I think you should work with so and so to get this set up. But also when we're looking for when a client comes to us, like an entrepreneur, I do like to understand, like, where are they? Like, where is their skill set? Are they really good at sales? Are they really good at design and branding? Do they build awesome websites? Do they, what is their skill set? Or are they like an accountant, but they know money and finance, but they're going to need some help with the marketing and stuff? Then, okay, then, you probably should start working with this person early on, so you can start shaping the other side of your business. So I do like to, make introductions where I can to make sure that they are surrounded with those resources. And then when it comes, but, and then also a lot of times we're, existing brands, a majority of our clients, like, are existing brands that have already got a product to market, and they're looking to add their next product to grow their business. In that case, they're already, showing us that they are capable of getting a product distributed, whether it's to retail or if it's direct to consumer brand or Amazon, stuff like that.
Gotcha. And if the people that are listening to us right now, if everybody has some idea that at one point they're like, or not everybody, but most entrepreneurs have thought of something that could potentially serve a lot of people and can make them a lot of money, but they're holding it with them for a couple of reasons. One, because a lot of people think it could be expensive, or they're afraid to fail at launching it. And then there's also another fear that I know is out there, is the fear that somebody steals their idea because I get approached for people that are trying to private label something sometimes, and just to ask my opinion, they get me to sign an NDA, and then I look and it's okay. I'm just going to put my logo on a Bluetooth speaker. It's like, really? You don't need an NDA for that. Because if I wanted to put my logo on a Bluetooth speaker, I would have. You know.
Well,
So
there's a million ways to do that type of stuff too, right? Like, that's a mistake entrepreneurs make, is like they do keep it close themselves. Like, and we sign non-disclosures all the time. It's just part of our business, no problem. But but if the amount of effort it takes for someone to knock off your idea and beat you there is like massive, right? It's like it's tough, right? If you go to a big brand though, like let's say you got a toy product and you go on the big dogs and you're not protected, you didn't get a patent, and you walk in there and you go, here's my idea. It's like, that's how your idea is going to get stolen, right? Versus going up to people like, you're making a golf product and you go out to the golf course and you talk to some guys in the pro shop and you talk to, some guys that you're playing golf with or whatever and start picking their brains on the idea. Like, they're not going to go, it's pretty tough or rare that they're going to go and take that idea and go and build it. And it's like, if they do, then you probably should choose better golfing partners. Or it's like, think about, like even if they were to take that idea and do it without you, it's likely they're going to do it a completely different way than you, because there's probably like a million different ways to solve that problem. And throughout our process, you'd see that, because like when a designer presents something to you, they don't just present it and go, this is it, this is the idea. It's like, here's like 30, like a bunch of ways to do it. What way do you want to do it? And it's like, and it also comes down to who's going to build the better brand. Like, brand is crucial. Like, who's going to have the better content? Who's going to put the effort into doing good quality photo and video shoots? Who's going to put the effort into setting up a well-developed website that converts well? Who's going to, all that stuff. Like, all that stuff is crucial. And, the people that are afraid to get started because someone's going to steal their idea, then you're more likely to have that idea stolen because someone beats you to it, because you're not starting. And then yes, money is the cost of it is expensive and a limiter, right? There's a lot of ways to find money these days. Pitch family and friends, and if you believe in it, you do some family and friend round, get enough to get to the next stage, and then
and get going.
Like it's just there's so many ways to get it going, but the problem is, if you don't start, you'll never know. That opportunity is just sitting there, and it's just like, like you're never going to make that leap. And I don't know, like, you just got to make the leap. And failure is like, if anything, if you fail, you're just going to be stronger, right? It's like, failing is almost like going to the gym, right? Like, you gotta break it down a little bit. And if you don't fail, like, you're not going to pivot. Nobody starts a business and doesn't fail at something. You're going to fail all over, but the successful entrepreneurs are the ones that pivot quickly. They learn from that failure and go, okay, that didn't work, but I'm going to do it this way. And then boom, that works. Okay, great. And then eventually what happens is, the things that you fail at consistently, you're like, okay, I'm not good at that. I'm going to bring this person on that is good at that. And then it's not going to fail as much. And then, okay, I'm going to, like, I suck at like setting up marketing and stuff. That's why I like brought on Martina. It's like, okay, Martina, you're better at writing, organizing, all that stuff. I fail at it, you don't. So here, you're going to help me, prevent failure. You're mitigating risk here and there and all over. But yeah, if you're afraid of failure, then you're just going to stay and do what you do and never grow.
Yeah. I mean, not attempting is the biggest failure, right? Not trying.
I agree. Yep.
So Jason, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find Klugonyx, and where they can buy that foot thing that you showed us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're live. Our website went live like last week, so we'd love to get some business there. But yeah, the Klugonyx is klugonyx.com, KLUGONYX.com. And then you could, there's a contact form on there. You can message Hunter with the little chat box there. And then the foot hook is literally foothook.com, FOOTHOOK.com. And they're up for sale. And, they mount on aluminum doors, wood doors, whatever. But, businesses are letting people back in, coffee shops, whatever. They're great on bathroom doors that are swinging bathroom doors. They're great on your front door. Let
Groceries.
people back in safely. Yeah. And you've got a bunch of stuff in your hands, right? You're getting packages delivered. It comes with a little sticker you put by your door handle that says, use your hand, foot hook below, and points down, and you got, you look down, you hook your foot, swing that door open, you walk right through hands free. So, yeah, check it out.
Foothook.com, Klugonyx.com, and I'll have all of these on the show notes so you guys can check them out. Go to the show notes, and if you're driving, don't try to write these down right now.
Right.
Jason, thank you so much, man. This has been amazing, and we got to get together in about a year or so just to check out on those fans, because that's something that I would want one.
I'd love to. Yeah, maybe we get Felipe in here, and he could tell you his side of the story, and he's a great guy to talk to. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.